Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast. It's a York special. So we've got a podcast today, which is Tuesday as we're doing this. We're going to look at the first 2 days of York's Dante meeting. That's Wednesday, Thursday even. Then we've got another pod, 4 o'clock on Thursday. That's going to be the final day of the Dante meeting and also all of Saturday's action as well. So there's lots going on. 2 pods this week. We've got Steve Jones and Charlie Poste alongside me, Tom Stanley, to preview the first 2 days of York's Dante meeting, which means good horses and loads of big prices given the nature of these York handicaps as well. So hopefully we'll point you in the way of a few big prices. We hit the crossbar with a good few big prices at the weekend. We did find you some winners as well at shorter. So like and subscribe. I always tell you to do that. If you haven't done so, you might be thinking it's not worth it, but it really is, because it makes it easier for you to consume all of our content, and it's the best no-cost way of supporting this podcast. Check out the York Dante Festival markets throughout the week. You can look at the odds checker grid. If you use odds checker, we tend to be best price on there because we are an exchange matchbook, and that's how it works. And also there's loads coming your way on matchbook. Fury Usyk is, I think, the rim walk from 11 o'clock this Saturday. Can't wait for that. Tyson's dad's already nutted someone yesterday. So keep your eye out for that preview. We've got the last day of the Premier League coming up. Of course, I'm sincerely hoping that Arsenal win that. And the USPGA as well this weekend. So there's loads going on. This is York's Dante meeting days 1 and 2. And we're going to start with the Jorvik Handicap, which is coming up at 2:15 on the Wednesday. First up, we're by and large big prices here. I'm actually shortest of the lot, but I'll kick off with Charlie Poste. Who do you like and why?
Firstly, mate, I can't believe you're one of those Spurs fans that says that they would rather lose just so Arsenal don't win the league. I don't get it.
Well, I haven't said that, but ultimately, I mean, obviously my ideal would be we beat City tonight as we're doing this, and then Arsenal go and bog it against Everton, but that's unlikely to happen. So the fact that we're not going to get fourth, what I'd like is us to play really well and lose by a goal. Genuinely, I can't help it. Sorry.
Terrible.
You don't have rivalry in the Cotswolds, do you? Right, go on.
Well, as a Cov fan, well, I mean, everyone that we're rivals with is better than us anyway, so I'm over it.
To be honest, Steve Jones lives in the Cotswolds. He's rivals with everyone. Who do you like in the York Opener, Charlie?
Flash Bardot for me in the 2:15. Filly of Jack Shannon. She's won 3 of her last 4, and if you go back and watch the Doncaster win in April, she won with any amount in hand, and an £8 rise, I think, was more than fair. This race is, I think, 4-year-olds have won 9 of the last 10 run-ins, so you're looking for a progressive one, often from very fashionable connections. But Jack Shannon is a young trainer showing he is very, very good at what he does, and he's having a really good time of it at the moment as well. And yes, you could pick holes and say that maybe this filly needs soft ground to be seen at her absolute best, but she has one on good to firm, and she just looks like one of those that was progressing in the autumn, has come back and is continuing on that upward curve. And with the couple of the top ones in the market, Klondike and Maharaba the Champ, not having had a run this year, I just thought 9.0 was a decent price, and to be able to back a win and place, I like that a lot.
Alex says small team mentality. I think he's talking about Spurs as opposed to this podcast. People saying, is Charlie in court? Is he in the House of Commons? I don't know, but that sort of wood paddling can't be your house, Charlie, can it?
This is my house. It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. It changes people, doesn't it? You sell a horse for 800 grand.
Off the farm where we rent, Tom. But I'm just merely a tenant. This is not my own. I don't own this. So for anyone that wants to get on that bandwagon, cost me a fortune to live here. You
sell a horse for the best part of $1 million and you stick wood paddling it. It's unbelievable. Some people. It doesn't change everyone, but it changes some. Steve Jones, who do you like at the York Opener?
Well, first of all, the forecast isn't very good. It's good to firm at the moment, but I'm not sure that's going to last very long. It's meant to rain all day today and pretty much up until racing tomorrow. So I'm kind of leaning towards horses that want a bit of dig in the ground, and Chillingham is certainly one of those. Chillingham won first time out last season. This season's taken a little bit of time to come to the boil, but last time at Ripon I thought it was a really good run, travelled so well through the race. And the other thing about races at York, they're going to be run at strong paces, most of them, certainly these big field handicaps, and that will Chillingham will love that, A, because it can be a little bit keen, and B, it travels so well through the races. And I think after that run at Ripon last time, which just at the end of April, he should be spot on. He's got cheek pieces added to a hood. I'm not sure many horses have that combination, but hopefully it'll work for Gillingham.
So I'm with Mahabar the Champ. He's very consistent over course and distance. Now, the one thing there is, like Steve says, if the ground is worse than good, don't back him, because he has got, as I understand it, I don't think his win's great. And that's why his form at one point last season just tailed off a touch, is because he was running on ground with a bit of dig in it. He needs a sound surface. And from what Steve says, I mean, I was banking on good ground, but if I'm wrong and there is good to soft or soft, then don't go near him. So it's a very much, as I've added it to the document now. You'll see it on insights.matchbook.com. If the ground is no worse than good, Mahabar the Champ will be fine. But I'm afraid if he has to dig deep because the ground's testing, I'm not going to back him because I don't think he'll get home. So that's the 2:15 at York Done. Chillingham, Flash Bardo, and Mahabar the Champ on ground that is no worse than good. The 2:45 is one of a couple of brilliant straight course sprint handicaps. I love these. I'll kick off because I have a strong opinion that Summergand is going to go and run a big race at 9.5. He's a course and distance winner. There's lots of pace. It's across the track, but there is plenty around where he is drawn. Unfortunately, Newmarket, even though he had more of a chance last time on the Rolling Mile because the pace wasn't holding up as well, it's not really his bag, and it certainly wasn't at the Craven meeting. But this can be if they go hard enough, and particularly if there's a bit of dig in the ground as well. It makes the straight course that little bit more testing. If it's rapid ground, it can really suit the front runners. But Summergand at 9.5, I think is a really solid bet, to be honest. So him win and place for me, Steve.
Woven for me, who's a decent price, I think 21.0, and a horse, another one that likes it soft, and made a really good return to action when short-headed at the Lincoln meeting at Doncaster on soft ground by Nebworth, when Richard Hughes' horses, who trains Nebworth, was in red-hot form. And then last time at Newmarket, it was a race at the Craven meeting, like a lot of those races, that nothing really got into it from off the pace. And he was in midfield and never really got out of midfield. And I think he's better than that. He's a horse, like I say, if it rains like the forecast is meant to, I think he's got a really good chance. And Michael Dodd's his trainer's in good form. And he's also got a fair bit of York form. He hasn't been here very often, but he's had 4 runs, the last of them in June of 2022. So getting on for 2 years ago. But he has won at York, and he's won over 7 furlongs at York. And he's also run really well over this course and distance in a hot handicap won by Mr. Lupton. So I think Woven is certainly underestimated in the market. And Oisin Murphy rides for Michael Dodds, which I think is very interesting.
Charlie?
Yeah, I've gone with Lakota Blue for one of my favourite racing characters, Nigel Tinkler. He's been gelded over the winter, this horse, and he if you watch his reappearance at Beverley over 5, he makes real good late headway down the middle of the track. He's back down to his last winning mark of 83, and the step back up to 6 will suit him. And there's plenty of pace drawn around him with the likes of a Bate, so I think he'll have a strong gallop to aim at, which I think is essential with York. You know, you want to be in and around the pace, and there's plenty around him. I'm just amazed Steve's predicting so much rain. I had no idea. I didn't think there was going to be that much, but he obviously knows better than me because again, I was working on sort of good ground, really.
Steve? What do you have anything? Oh no, I suppose that's what you're doing. You stick to your guns, Steve. There we are.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. I hate it when the forecast is like this and it's fast ground, because you never really know. It might. I'm not saying it's going to be deep ground, but I'd say if the forecast is right, it's going to be easy side maybe.
3:15 is the Duke of York Clipper Logistics Stakes. Looks a really good renewal. This, I mean, it's. I think we've got 15 in here. It looks a proper race. Steve, I'll let you kick off just because you're the shortest price of the lot, but swing along is still a price.
Yeah, I think they're all a price in this because it's such a competitive race. And Swing Along was really good a couple of years ago as a juvenile. And what she did last year, she was one of those that might have found life a little bit tough because she's running in grade ones or group ones. But she was third in the Commonwealth Cup behind Shakil, who went on to win the July Cup, and then ended it with really good form in open group ones in the Sprint Cup at Haydock, and then on Champions Day at Ascot behind Art Power, when both times was kind of a little away from the main action. And she's just the type of horse, I think, who's going to improve as a 4-year-old. And her York form's also very good. She won, as a juvenile, she won the Lowther. And then last season, she won a Group 3 over the same course and distance. So she's got the track form. She's going to improve, I think, this year. I think she's got a good chance, but it is a cracking race.
I will come in with my best bet of the day, which is Should Have Been a Ring. I mean, there is just so much pace on, and this horse, that's exactly the setup that he wants. He didn't have a chance. I'm banging this Newmarket drum at the Craven meeting when horses that were ridden off it didn't have a chance. But I mean, he really didn't in the race won by Washington Heights. But still ran a really good race that day. Was sent off 4.0. Just made a bit of late headway. A pace over 6 is exactly what this horse wants. Sean Levy's very good on these types of horses as well. Like, I know he doesn't win a huge amount, but he's 17.0 in a race that I think is going to set up absolutely ideally for him. He's the most exciting horse of the meeting for me at that sort of price. I'll be having I mean, like, he was placed in a Group 1. He was beaten a neck in a Group 1. He's max bet material for me. Win and place. Should Have Been a Ring. Charlie.
I can see the Swing Along case with Steve, but I just would have liked to have had a run, and that's where I've come down with Millstream, who has had that run. Had a wind surgery through the winter, and then reappeared with a really good second behind Washington Heights in the race that you're on about, Tom, where it was sort of dominated by horses in and around the pace as that meeting at Newmarket was. This horse had a really productive 3-year-old season, and like I say, had wind surgery over the winter, and then came back with a really good second there. I thought watching, he looked like he might just improve for the run, as he looked like he's really going to get into it and just flattened out through the last furlong. I think with that run under his belt, and as you said, a load of pace in this race to aim at, he could just progress to be a really, really good top level sprinter this summer, Millstream. And I thought he was really interesting in what, as both of you have said already, is a really excellent renewal of this race.
Yeah, plenty of depth to it. That's the Duke of York, Clipper Logistics. The Tassels Musadora next. Just Steve and I with Friendly Soul. I guess that's quite boring. She's 2.1. I was pretty taken with the first 2 last time. I thought her debut, Steve, was fine, and the stable companion was sort of not given a hard time bit to finish second to her. But I was really impressed with last time. Like, I know she had the run of the race, but you know, she's a fairly sizable, inexperienced filly to just be out on the wide straight of Newmarket, dominating like that and being so straightforward. The yard have got a great record in it. I thought she was fairly solid at 2.1 and enough in the price for me to have a little go at her.
Yeah, I don't think she's the worst price in the world because she's got the pedigree. She's 3 of her siblings won Group 1s in France. So she's got a top pedigree. What she did last time was very impressive. The form, Kalpana, the runner-up, had won by 10 lengths previously in a handicap, and the pair of them were a country mile clear in the Pretty Polly Stakes. And the fact that John and Thady Gosden's horses around that time, they were coming on for the run. So for her to be able to do that first time up, I think it's very good. She's going to be very hard to beat. And I think she'll go to the French Oaks and she might well win that as well. I think she's very smart.
Yeah, they suggested that that was where she'd go, but probably wouldn't be trying a 1.5 miles just yet. That's the Musadora done. We move on to another opener handicap. That's the 4:15. And I'll kick off with you, Charlie, because you didn't have anything in the last one. Win and place shot Ziggy's Condor.
Yeah, Ziggy's Condor for me. You get again Richard Fahey's sort of stringer going nicely enough, and again another horse that was gelded over the winter. Ran really well in the big sales race here behind Dragon Leader. Granted, he was never getting to him, but beat the rest of them nicely enough, and then backed that up with a solid run at York in September behind the Coffee Pod, where he followed the Coffee Pod through and just never looked likely to pick him up, but conceding a penalty. With natural progression over the winter, I think a mark of 83 is workable. I thought the step up in trip was a real plus. And like I say, chuck into the fact that he's been gelded as well. I thought Win and Place, he was a real interesting horse in a race that is naturally full of quite a lot of unexposed 3-year-olds that all have room to progress. But I thought most interesting, the mark of 83, I just thought had a lot of leeway to go up from.
Steve?
Sorry, my fingers aren't quick enough to get the mute button off, and I'm not going to start talking and give everyone. Expensive Queen for me.
They're not quick enough. I mean, where are they? Have they walked to the back of the room?
Yeah. This is why a friend of mine said you must get into in-running betting. This is years ago. Oh, it's fantastic. It's like picking apples. It's so easy. And I was like, and lost a fortune. So
your fingers are picking apples, Steve. They'd be mouldy by the time you got right. Go on, off you go. What we got?
Expensive Queen, I thought was very promising last year. Nice to see that she won first time up, and then subsequently she ran at Sandown in the Star Stakes, which is only a listed race, but it's got a history of being top class, and I think that is the case. For filly of Gosden's, it was Group 1 filly won it a few years ago, and Shuwari won it last year from Fallen Angel. So that was Group 1 form as well. And the fact that she couldn't make much of an impact in midfield, I don't think was a disgrace. And next time, when she was narrowly beaten in a nursery at Newmarket, she got very upset in the stalls. So hopefully she might have grown up a bit over the winter. And Ryan Moore riding for Kevin Ryan, I expect her to be very solid. I think she's got a really solid chance.
And for me, I wanted to play low as far as the draw goes. I feel, particularly this distance with the shoot, it can be difficult if there's not much pace on and you're drawn wide, because you're turning quite soon and it's not easy to come over and slot in necessarily. So that's what I'm trying to do with True Promise, who's 15.0, 2 runs at Newcastle. He sort of belied his pedigree last time by staying on at Newcastle in particular over 7. And I thought Stamina won the day, even though he's very speedily bred. No idea how good he is, but into a handicap off a mark of 85, he could be better than that. I think he's got a good draw to go and get handy, and he saw it out well last time. So True Promise, it's a bit of a speculative punt at 15.0, not overly confident, but small stakes Win and Place. All right, that's the final of the handicaps we're doing. Any other bets? Just you, Steve. You got one at Foss Lass.
Yeah, it's on the telly, so I thought I'd better show Willing with Bucephalus, who is a horse who bumped into a good one last time of Harry Durham's. I think that was a really good effort. Bucephalus is really well treated on his flat form, and he's not had too many. They sort of mixed flat and jumps, but his rating on the flat entitles him to be well handicapped. And I think off the back of that run last time, a horse that goes well on soft, and it is soft down at Foss Lass, surprisingly enough. And his jockey, a £7 amateur, has done really well for Neil Mulholland. So Bucephalus, I think, is a good bet at Foss Lass.
All right, we move on to Matchbook Zero long shots. Reminder that Matchbook Zero goes live at 10 a.m. each day. If you like a win bet, you may as well do it at Matchbook Zero, because you're almost certain to be getting best odds. And not just because Matchbook is an exchange, and I've told you why that's likely anyway, but because with Matchbook Zero, there's zero margin and zero commission. So those odds are further enhanced. Mine should have been a ring in the Duke of York, Clip Logistics Stakes, 17.0 in the 315. Steve?
Woven, 245 York, 21.0.
Charlie?
Flash Bardo, 215 at York, 11.0 for me.
All right. And no lays, so just best bets. Should have been a ring. Again, for me, I think he's a very, very strong bet on the day. Steve?
Group 1 sprinter Swingalon.
Oh, we're in the same race there. I wasn't going to change. Fine. Charlie?
I was going with Millstream in the same race, but I did change because of the way that we're supposed to do this. So I've gone Ziggy's Condor in the 4:15.
Well, I was first. Why are you two shaking your head? For anyone that's listening on the podcast, everyone's nodding and applauding. We move on to day 2 of the Dante. We kick off with another sprint handicap. Again, I'll give you prices when we get there. Steve, I'll come to you first of all. Good bit of pace on here again, isn't there?
Yeah, which you come to expect at York, but it is spread across the track in this race. So you've got the likes of Copper Knight in 1, but then there's plenty of pace higher up as well, and that's where JM Jungle is in 16. So I don't think it's going to be too much. I'd rather a little bit towards the middle, but JM Jungle's got a stack of York form from all over the track. Was only beaten half a length, drawn in stall 19 when third at the Ebor meeting last year, and went on to finish beating a length behind Vintage Clarets later on in the season. Ran really well again at Musselburgh first time up. That should have put the edge on him big time, because he was drawn. He wasn't drawn badly, but he raced sort of on the outside, and that's never a help at Musselburgh. So to only be beaten a couple of lengths by a quality who's a good horse, and Arecibo is also in the race, I thought that was a really good starting point for JM Jungle. So back at York with that run under his belt, I think he'll go really, really well.
I'll have a go at Equilateral, who I always thought used to want to go fresh. He does seem to still go best fresh. He's fresh from his exploits in the Middle East. Gets the pace he wants to aim at. Last win here came over 5.5, but I think pace over 5 will be absolutely ideal. He's well treated. He should be able to strongly travel into the race with the right man on board. 13.0 win and place I thought was fairly solid. Charlie?
Yeah, I came down with Clarendon House. He had a real productive winter, winning a couple of times on the all-weather. He's rated a good bit higher there as well, 112. Reappeared at Goodwood only a couple of weeks ago, and he was 4th or 5th, but only beat a length and a half and travelled really strongly. Been dropped 2 for that down to back, so he's down to 105 now, which is the last mark he won off on the all-weather. And can't believe that heavy ground is really what he wants. You know, he's got plenty of form on the turf on much better surface than this. So I thought he was sort of teed up to run a big race. There's loads of pace, like you said. He's a real strong traveller, and yeah, I just think he looks like he should be coming to the Boyle back on turf for Robert Cowell, who's also running nicely at the moment.
That is the opening sprint done and dusted. The Hambleton handicap is over a mile. Again, fiendishly difficult. I'll kick off with Point Linus, who's just very strong over this course and distance. I mean, including a couple of very close placed efforts. Versatile how he can be ridden as well. I think he'll be up there. I mean, there is amongst the bigger prices, there is a good bit of pace on. Ground will be sort of middle of the road. Ground is exactly what he wants. He's well drawn to get pretty handy, although I don't think the draw is as important here as it is over the 7. 15.0 win and place, has gone well fresh in the past. I thought was very solid, and I expect him to be not too far back and finish pretty strongly as well. But there might be something better treated than him in the field, because he's up to a pretty high mark now. But the fact that he's so consistent over course and distance made him pretty interesting, I thought. Charlie?
Yeah, again, ultra competitive as all these handicaps are. I came down with Mursky for the David O'Meara team. You know, I mean, he needs no introduction about his ability at taking these types of races out. David Nolan rides, but I mean, he rode him on his first start for the yard. The horse was bought in France in November, had winning form over there, and reappeared at Thirsk again only recently. He stayed on really well over a mile at Thirsk the other day behind Titan Rock, beat 2.5 lengths, just flattened out through the last furlong. And I don't know, he might be one of these with David O'Meara that he might need another run to really come to the Boyle, but he's a horse I definitely want on side. They'll be winning plenty of races with this horse through through the summer. And, you know, Danny Tudhope rides one of the others in the race for the same team, but I presume they're leaving Dave Nolan on him because he rode him last time. And like I say, I would be slightly wary that maybe Thursday isn't the day, but he's a horse for the notebook and one that I definitely will be following over his next few starts.
Steve.
Yeah, a horse, another one of Michael Dodds's who's in good form, Northern Express, who was slightly disappointing when trying to win the First Cup for the second year running, but he's a horse that is generally consistent, so I'm expecting him to bounce back from that. And he was quite unlucky in this race last year. He's third, only beaten ahead, but he had to wait for a run. He probably got himself too far back as well that day. I'm expecting him to slot into midfield a little bit better with that strong pace. And he's since that day he won it over 7 furlongs. He beat Valfantino and Guido, two real informed horses from last summer, over 7 furlongs at this track at York. And then he went on to the Ebor meeting to run another good race. And again, he was slightly unlucky with the traffic problems that he had, and was runner-up over this course and distance in October. So he likes York. He won't mind a bit of soft ground, but it was decent ground when he was unlucky in it last year. So I think he's got a lot going for him. Northern Express.
Yeah, likes the track very much. Just you, Steve, in the Middleton. Charlie and I haven't found a bet. Who are you with and why?
I just thought that this was a race that was packed full of horses that are going to need further, including last year's winner, who's going to be a fairly short price in this free win. It's a bit surprising to see her back out. You thought she might have gone off to stud, but Infinite Cosmos is another one. And Sapphire Seas, who's unexposed, might just be too quick for them. Had run in Maidan, finished second in Maiden after a break, and so if she's thrived in the hot climbs and over the winter, then I think she might just be a little bit too quick. She won that listed race at Yarmouth at the back end of the season, which is often a good race, and I think it was again.
We've got one more to come where Steve's the only person with a bet as well. The Dante's up next. I thought Ancient Wisdom at 2.4 was a bit of a bet, to be honest. That maybe that's lazy. I really rate him. I did at Newmarket back end of last year. He went on and did the job at Doncaster. If it was going to be rattling quick ground, would be my only concern, but it's not. But based on the weather forecast, yeah, I think he's comfortably best of these, and Charlie Happy's proved that consistently with his 3-year-olds so far this season. Certainly the Colts, anyway. So Ancient Wisdom for me, Charlie.
Yeah, I'd say there's every chance you're probably right. I mean, and as Steve has said that there's going to be loads of rain, I think that makes it even more likely. But I was slightly nervous of the fact that it might end up a sound enough surface, and we haven't seen him, and it is a trial, and therefore he might improve for it. So I sided with Caviar Heights. It's had 2 runs already. He had solid enough form as a juvenile, and then stepped forward in the field and finishing third, and then took another jump forward in a listed race back at Newmarket where he won impressively. And he just looks like the sort of horse, as typical See the Stars. It's improving with racing. He's a guaranteed stayer, and compared to the top 2 in the market with those runs under his belt, I just thought this might be more his target rather than the other 2 who probably are seeing even bigger things on the horizon. So Caviar Heights, but as you quite rightly say, Ancient Wisdom could just prove to be way too good for these.
Steve.
Yeah, a bit frustrated that there's only 7 runners and not 8, because I think Economics would have been a decent bet winning place. But I'm going to take a chance on Economics anyway. I do think that maybe the market's right with Ancient Wisdom and Al-Mazmak and Caviar Heights, but Economics has certainly got to be in there. Someone told me before he ran at Newbury over a mile in only his second start. He had 1 start last season in a really good maiden. When finishing 4th, it worked out well. And this year he started off at Newbury in a mile maiden. He's going to need a whole lot more distance than that. But someone told me he was a Derby horse for William Haggis, and they don't tend to talk like that too often. They certainly don't have huge amount of runners in the Derby that are no hopers. That's for sure. In Economics lives up to that it was certainly a good starting point first time up at Newbury, and going up in distance is going to help. And he's the unexposed one against the ones that have shown they're worthy of group group form. So just the prices really. I'm going to take a bit of a punt at economics to small stakes.
I'd have a word with him. I told you he was a Derby horse because he's not entered. But
well, he was definitely.
No, of course, yeah, sure he was. That's convenient. Right?
Are you sure?
We move on. Maybe it was. I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to pay the entry fees. Economics. I don't know. Right. What we got? We all done on the Dante. We move on to the Westo. Just you, Steve. Just you. Big price as well.
Yeah, big price. He definitely was in the Derby though, so that's a little bit of a worry. I didn't check that he was still in it, which is a bit nice. Anyway, Big Evs. I hope Big Evs wins. I hope Big Evs goes on to be the star 5 furlong sprinter this summer. What he did as a 2-year-old was fantastic. Mick Appleby is, in my opinion, one of the best trainers in the country, bar none. And I hope that this horse does well for him. But starting off with a £5 penalty to giving horses that much weight first time out might just be the time where he's vulnerable. It's going to be a long old season. Mon La Sleeve, if that's how you say it, might be the time to catch this one first time up. Won at this meeting last year in a novice race, and this horse is extraordinarily quick. And if he is ready to go, he might prove to be too quick for. I know Big Evs is quick, but this horse is very quick. And if Big Evs is not totally 100% first time out, then this horse might just be able to get home. And he also ran very well from the front in a listed race at the Ebor meeting. That was a good race. Porus Sang was second to Fast Responder in that race. But Mon Na Sleeve gave them a real good go. And his 2 other races were Ascot and Ayr, which would be 2 stiff tracks. So I think I'm going to take a chance with this horse. He's just extraordinarily quick. And sometimes at York, if you do that, you can just blast away and keep going.
Any other bets, Charlie? Just you at Salisbury?
Yeah, another one with the televised action. Power Fury for Nicky Henderson. Jump, it's a unique one at Salisbury that you have the tape start, flag start, and they race back down the straight and then back round. And jumps trainers have won this a few times in the last 10 run-ins. This horse came from William Haggis's one-off mark of 80 for him, and it won a couple of hurdle races over the winter for Nicky and his team, and especially at Haydock on really heavy ground. Ground is going to be very testing at Salisbury on Thursday, and off a mark of 84, there's no reason why this filly shouldn't get the trip on the flat at mile 6. And Golden Horn, who the sire has proven himself to be a really excellent dual-purpose sire, so I think I just got a price on that sort of 3.75. I thought that was an interesting with a filly with more scope to progress on the flat as a 5-year-old.
Okay, and Matchbook Zero long shot now. I've told you all about Matchbook Zero. And to get there if you want to win only bet, because it's most likely to be best odds. Mine's Equilateral at 13.0 in the 215 at York. Steve? Go on, try once more. Give us once more.
It is Monna Sleeve in the 415, I think it is.
415 at York, 17.0. Charlie?
Mursky in the 245 at York.
Best bets. Ancient Wisdom in the Dante for me. Steve?
It is JM Jungle in the 215.
Charlie?
Power Pori in the 230 at Salisbury.
I've just gone to the original Derby entries. Economics was in there.
Why is he out then? That's not
good enough. They said
it's not a good sign. Maybe he's going to France. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he's not going anywhere. Maybe he's going to Royal Ascot. Maybe he's going to Pontefract. Or
hopeless. Triumph Hurdle. Thanks, everyone. Have a lovely rest of your week. We'll see you again on Thursday at 4 o'clock. I think it is, for the final day of York and Saturday's action as well. Bye-bye.